Welcome back to the Unintangibles Fantasy Football Show. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's video about the Seahawks and the Vikings game. Hope you got everything you wanted out of fantasy from that. I wanted to discuss with my co-host Mo Aurora. The Rams looked very scary on Sunday night. They faced a very tough defense. Mo, what were your first impressions on watching that game and the Rams altogether?
Yeah, so just to be clear, it's not the Rams that look scary anymore. It's the I'm scared I'm scared for the Rams. I don't know. I think okay. Let me start by maybe backtracking things that I've said earlier. I know earlier this year I was saying like good defenses don't matter compared to good offenses, right? Obviously, late in the season, that's not true. Maybe it's like September, October, November, into November, you're like, hey, don't worry about the defenses yet. But as we get to the end of the year, these teams are who they are. I think with the Rams, maybe it's almost like they could just be getting tired, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like they've been spending 3/4 of the season running up and down the field all over everybody for the most part. They could just be fading, or maybe like running out of plays, running out of, Sean McVay's running out of brilliance. I don't know, right? I also think, though, that if they had lost to the Chiefs before their bye week, they might have come out a little bit, like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes maybe this is the loss that sort of re-snaps their focus, I do still think they're a really good team, and I think that as far as I know, health isn't really a problem, right? I mean,
I think health may be a problem.
Oh, is it? Who am I thinking of?
Okay, well, they lost Cooper Kupp. We know he's gone for the year. I'm not saying they're not the same team since he left, but they've definitely. I think their average point total has gone down probably without.
That's true, because in one of those games they scored 54 points. So
yeah. But yesterday their offensive lineman went down. They had two guys that went down, Roger Saffold and their center Sullivan went down.
Yeah.
So they were making a point on NBC, which was true, that they have a great offensive line, but they don't have a lot of depth on that offensive line. So, look, I mean, I think the Bears are probably the best defense in the NFL. Everyone's can admit that now. And, Goff rode in the cold. That's evidence. He had 4 picks, no touchdowns, was like 20 for 44. I think it's a combination of things. I think you're right, though. I think maybe they're a little tired, even though they just had their bye very late in the year.
Sure, it was very late, though, like you said, right?
Yeah, very late. But I think defenses are starting to get a lot of tape on McVay now and that offense. And we were discussing earlier in the year how slowing Gurley down in the passing game can really slow that offense down altogether. And Gurley only caught 3 balls yesterday. He was targeted 7 times. And I noticed that whenever he goes out, there's usually a guy on him now. So it's not as easy for Gurley to make a reception, in motion and all that. So maybe teams are starting to catch up defensively on the Rams. I personally think the Saints are a better team in the NFC. And I think fantasy-wise, Gurley has definitely come back down to earth. 2 of his last 3 games, I think he's had single-digit point totals in those fantasy games. So,
well, you're right. You're right about if you slow down Gurley. I think with the Rams, again, I think with Cooper Kupp, it's hard to say because Josh Reynolds has had big games in Cooper Kupp's place. It's hard to say that Kupp specifically is a loss so much as I think the quantity of pretty good options on the Rams is partly maybe what fuels their creativity and all that stuff. And it's like, that's the thing. It's like the Rams seem like a really creative team because they have all these guys that are worth running plays for. But if half of the reason why they're good is because you get the ball to Todd Gurley, that's not that creative. I would have that idea too. Let's get the ball to Todd Gurley, right? But maybe it's like the quantity of options on the field at any given time is what kind of not overrates, but kind of adds to that element of creativity. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's just like as Gurley goes, so go the Rams. They play Philadelphia in Week 15. They're home to Philadelphia. Week 15. I'm more confident in the Rams to get back on track against Philadelphia than I am to see Philadelphia continue to provide problems for the Rams that they've been having. You know, I mean, I know Philadelphia is a good, like that was a big loss by Philadelphia. You know,
yeah, they're so banged up in the secondary. Philly is like they have no pass defense right now, so Goff should be able to get back on track, and they should win their last 3 games. They play Arizona, they play the 49ers, so they'll enter the playoffs probably feeling good. Mm-hmm. But I feel that Cooper Kupp was his Goff safety blanket there, and I think that's going to make a big difference down the stretch in the playoffs. But we have to keep in mind that Philly played tough with the Rams last year in Week 14 in the regular season. So not the same personnel. I think you're right. I think it'll probably be a get right game again for the Rams. But man, I don't know, man. I feel like the Rams got exposed a little bit last night for sure.
Possibly. I think so. Let me ask you this then. I don't think we're going to talk about the Chiefs much this week because what's left to be said, right? But Tyreek Hill is a little bit gimpy right now, right? He might be hurt. He's got a bad foot. If I have Tyreek Hill in the league, if he can't go, Josh Reynolds is probably my next man up. Should I be worried, or is that okay? Is that an okay substitute, all things considered?
I would maybe even look at the waiver wire. I would try and see who else you could work instead of Reynolds. I mean, if you own Josh Reynolds and you have to start him, I don't think you'd feel great about starting Reynolds right now.
Yeah, maybe not.
But although, yeah, the schedule is good. The schedule is good. They're going to want to get back on track. So, it's possible that one or two of those final 3 games will be good. Brandin Cooks has been kind of invisible lately. So,
they want to get the guy that a breakout game could make the Rams look a lot better again, right? So, yeah, I think, man, I think it's just a swoon. Like they've been pretty entrenched, in their position for a while, especially once they lost to New Orleans. It's like, okay, they're probably not going to get the 1 seed. They kind of haven't really had a lot to play for in a sense, right? Because they're pretty comfortable. Now all of a sudden, it's like they're coming back to the field a little bit. I wonder, man, because like you gotta believe that there's been some pages of the playbook that they've been saving, right? So it's not that they've ran out of creativity. Could just be that they're tired, and it could just be that it turns out the solution all along was just extra focus on Gurley makes the rest of them ordinary. But I just, I think it would be. I think Week 15 will be a get right game against Philadelphia. I'm losing confidence in Philadelphia to ever really snap out of it and give a real title defense. And some of it is injuries, poor Philadelphia, but some of it is also there's nobody on offense who's all that reliable. Right? That doesn't help,
Besides the Bears, the Chiefs, and the Saints, if you don't have the personnel to match up with the Rams are going to walk all over you.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting the Rams to walk all over those guys. And then when it comes down to facing the Bears in the NFC Championship game, maybe that won't be easy again. Even if the Bears have to play it in LA, it won't be easy. The Chiefs, obviously, they have offensive personnel to match with the Rams. And the Saints have just the full team. We saw to beat the Rams. So the Rams are beatable. So you just need the personnel.
Yeah. Luckily, though, if you own Rams, you probably won't. This may be the worst of it. You probably won't have to worry about all that because for our fantasy purposes, their schedule is pretty nice. And I will say this. So in the league there's a league in which I own Gurley. It's the same league that I have Hill and Reynolds or whatever, actually. I'm really glad I had a bye because, in another league that I'm in, the team that has Gurley has been like dominant and they're going to lose this week because everyone just came up flat for them because the fantasy playoffs are just unpredictable,
Well, one more point, like you mentioned Gurley, if the Rams win next week, I don't know the situation with the standings right now, not in front of me. I'm wondering, John Kelly was not the backup last night to Todd Gurley. It was Justin Davis who seemed to have that final carry of the game. And I don't know, obviously it doesn't mean a whole lot, but if you want to roster a Rams backup to Todd Gurley, is it Justin Davis? Is it John Kelly? And maybe you should be rostering one of these guys because in Week 16, we don't know how much action Gurley may get. They may want to rest him for the playoffs. So something to consider.
Yeah, something to consider. I think That's really hard to parse, I think, because I think if Gurley doesn't play, that means the game's not meaningful. And if the game's not meaningful, then why would Justin Davis or John Kelly's workload be all that meaningful, right? In a sense. Or if it's like Justin Davis or John Kelly plays the second half, it'll probably be because Gurley got to eat the first half, So Justin Davis is a good name to bring up, but I don't want people to start overthinking things as well. So, if you can still make waiver moves in your league, but maybe there's a limit, you're running out, like think twice. Don't necessarily jump to get Justin Davis, but like, it might be that you need a kicker more than you want to take a chance on this guy, right? Frankly, I think the Rams losing on Sunday night is good for Gurley being needed and
around.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
They're 11-2. The Saints are 11-2. So the Saints have the Panthers 2 more times and the Steelers. So a bit of a tougher schedule for the Saints. So, and look, if the Saints lose this weekend to the Panthers and the Rams win, they'll have a game separation, and then that'll be going into Week 16. So you're probably right. They're probably going to need Gurley the rest of the way. So you do make a good case. So losing last night,
they'll have a shot at the number 1 seed, right? They haven't fully seeded that yet. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, they definitely. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So yeah,
that's they want to look pretty good going into what they're probably going to get another bye, and they didn't look great coming out of this bye, so they probably want to look pretty sharp the next few weeks, I think. And I think beating Philadelphia, and frankly knocking Philadelphia out, I think that's on the Rams' mind. I think they're like
probably yeah.
A good way to look if they've been the clubhouse leader all year, and now they're starting to swoon, and people are starting to wonder about them. A good way for them to feel like themselves again and believe in themselves again is to knock the Eagles out, knock the Super Bowl champions out of, put an end to that Super Bowl defense. And like, all right, now there's going to be a new Super Bowl winner, and the Rams can think that it'll be them again, So it's worrisome, but I think if you have players on the best offense in the NFL, or one of them anyway, you should still be okay.
Yeah, they'll get back on track, but at the same time, like I just feel that the offense is a little more schemable now. Even if you don't have the personnel, you may be able to scheme it a little better. So I mean, look, Gurley was a beast in the fantasy playoffs last year because the Rams just exploded last year.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, and I think you're right, but I don't think, at least with Gurley, I don't think is just a product of a good scheme. I think Gurley is a truly really good player. And, I think if the Rams just focus on getting him going, if the Rams focus on countering other teams' focus on Gurley, I think Gurley can still shine. And I think, look, like whether or not this is a consideration in Gurley's mind, but he's playing for something else too. He's also playing to be the number 1 pick again next year. Right. And I think that now he's got guys like Zeke and Barkley breathing down his neck, and I think Gurley, I think as Gurley goes, so do the Rams. And I think Todd Gurley has got a lot of pride and a lot of ability. And I think, I'm just going to be a believer in him. If you have Todd Gurley, now is not the time to wonder if you shouldn't, Yeah.
But hopefully they can stay healthy. Hopefully that O-line can stay healthy throughout the rest of the regular season for fantasy, Todd Gurley production, and the rest of the Rams. So
the rest of the Rams I'm not as confident in, but I think that if I'm as confident in Gurley as I think I am, then they should be fine too. I'm not as thrilled about the prospect of starting Woods or somebody.